Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to discuss some concepts surrounding aim training, as there is a lot of uncertain knowledge in some areas. So the aim of this video is to hopefully put those questions to bed, and also I hope you find something of value in this video. First, I want to give a huge thank you for the massive support on reaching 1k subscribers. You guys have honestly been really great, and the community is starting to establish nicely with a lot of people sharing their individual progress and advice. Okay, so first, the absolute most important concept to cover is translation. A big thought in the community is that if you get good results in some tasks in aim trainers, then it's going to also make you good at the FPS you like to play. The answer to this is not exactly. Good scores does not translate into good gameplay, but it does help. A better term to phrase this is that aim trainers will aid you in becoming better at said game, not just immediately make you better at them, and hence the best experience you can gain is playing the game itself. There are too many underlying conditions in the making of a great player, and aim is just one of them. This is why you will find higher ranked players that can play a game very well but not necessarily be the most gifted in terms of raw mechanical aim, and vice versa. You can find a person with cracked or really good aim and they can be a much lower rank. In addition, the situations where the added benefit of your training occurs can be as little or as less as 5% of the encounters in the whole match. And this too is dependent on the tasks that you have been training. The second part to this question is what I'm going to refer to as the trap. This is an attitude towards aim training and the FPS itself which does not allow for further improvement. The basis of all improvement in terms of aim is performing an action faster, an emphasis on the keyword being faster. In a lot of my videos I mentioned hitting up to 95% accuracy, and although this is okay for mouse control and consistency, the speeding up element is the actual improvement. If you're playing the same runs at 95% accuracy and getting the same results, you are not improving, especially when you've reached a relatively high consistency for that speed minus human error. A big part of this learning curve is based around missing shots, which is an indication that there is an ability, i.e. being able to do something, that you can train and learn. This brings me on to the next area, and it was brought up when I was discussing with a member in the channel, and this is neuroplasticity. In relation to aiming, this is induced by missing shots, because you'll learn that the motion you performed was a mistake and you build new synapses to help with that new motion. It's important to change the motion next time an interaction occurs though, so you don't make a habit of the bad movement. So essentially, speeding up and missing is what encourages you to learn and handle the shots at that speed, and it can be a big factor in why someone is not seeing improvement. As an additional point too, being good in one task is just a subcategory of that mechanic amongst many other types of scenarios. So for the best translation, the tasks must be relevant and improvement must happen to see the improvement in the FPS, on the chance that the scenario occurs using the same mechanics. There is another point I like to use in my previous videos, and that was to analyse the cause of failure. If you missed a shot, say to yourself, I missed that shot because I moved too fast in this direction, which was slightly off target by this angle. Similarly, if you die, say to yourself, I died pushing mid without information, while I thought the enemy team was attacking A. Next time you will remember this and at least take caution or try a new strategy for performing the goal you want. This one is a hot topic, and my take is that there is a lot of misunderstanding here. A lot of people will disagree, but hear me out, it will get interesting. There is a general consensus that other tasks are better suited for your individual improvement, like 6-shot for example, which is definitely true in some cases like myself now, where I am unable to gain any benefit whatsoever from Gridshot. Let me break it down. To isolate speed as a mechanic, which is what Gridshot boils down to, it must be devoid of accuracy, so how you do this is by making the targets big. This is how you train your raw and max speed as a singular mechanic. When precision is introduced, like with 6-shot, there is little chance that you can perform a run in 6-shot with the same speed you can in Gridshot, but training in 6-shot will help you progress as close to that max speed as possible. The basis of Gridshot is to train your ability to hit big massive targets at faster speeds, so being able to do something is key here. As a fundamental, we have a natural aiming speed for targets of various sizes. The diagram looks like so, and I will put forth a theory. Is a person able to hit a shot in 6-shot at a greater speed than what they can output in Gridshot? The answer is no, or at least extremely unlikely. It makes no sense that you could hit a precise shot with such speed if you can't hit a large target like that. So what does this mean for Gridshot? That it's a limit trainer. When you train to hit big targets fast, you are training to move and respond at these faster speeds, which gives you a level of comprehension, which allows you theoretically to hit these shots in 6-shot at this speed too. Thus, I dub Gridshot as an entry task into 6-shot for the speed and then the consistency building as mentioned previously, so it isn't all that bad. A lot of people can still improve from this, but a lot of the trouble people find in Gridshot is that they can click very fast, but unable to move from location to location, so there is always that flick and line trace to be improved on. The negative side to this, however, is that no FPS anywhere requires you to do this for 60 seconds, so the fastest speed between maybe 5-10 targets is sufficient really. But on the flip side, which is a counter statement I wonder on, if the targets are so big, then why am I missing? If I'm not missing and I'm not click inhibited or limited by physical speed restrictions in terms of movement, then there is an ability for me to move faster. I just don't know how to do it yet because it's a latent ability. So personally, I find the task is still beneficial only up until the point that you reach close to your maximum click speed. That's because even if you can travel quicker, there's no point in the additional speed because the next click can only be as quick as you can click, which is why I have had absolutely no progress in the task for a good many months. For me now, 6-shot and precision-based tasks are exactly what I should be focusing to get the maximum potential out of my speed versus precision when going for that headshot. Sometimes I hit headshots really fast, but it's about bringing that to a more consistent state. So, in terms of training speed as a mechanic on its own isolated, I feel like I've trained that almost to my maximum potential now. In summary, there are loads of good points but also loads of bad points. I see it bluntly like if I can't hit a big target at a certain speed, then I'm not going to hit a small one. So I see it more like a starter task to train your actual potential for, say, getting headshots at a fast speed. The answer to this is one that is personal to you. As mentioned before, every person has their own individual natural aiming speed for targets of various sizes, and therefore, the distance that they believe they should move a mouse in terms of the eye-hand coordination is something individual to them too. I propose another theory here to make sense of this. You gather 100 people and set a sensitivity to 0.00001. Ask them to flick to a given area on screen. Every person will move the mouse a different distance to what they thought would hit the target. Similarly, if you set the sensitivity to 999.999, each person would probably spin around 100 times while making the flick, but some other people might only spin 94 times, 95 times, so on. As a rule of thumb, you should absolutely not copy other people's sensitivities. Yeah, you can train yourself on a new sensitivities, but I believe you will always perform best on a scale that's natural to you. For me, it's very low because I like to move my arm and hand very fast as a jerk reaction, so the low sense allows me to do this without being a stupid distance away from the target. Now going back to that theory, you give the option for everyone to change their sensitivity and repeat the test a few times over. The distance that they move their mouse will feel comfortable, and hence you'll see a lot of different sensitivities across the board. Some will have 0.7, some 0.5, and that distance was what felt natural to them. Some people, however, are gifted enough to play on multiple different sensitivities, as the hand-eye coordination is just a set distance for your mouse to move, so with experience, a player knows roughly how far to move their mouse. There are stories though of people playing on a sensitivity they thought was really good for a long time, but changing it to a different one allowed them to improve a lot more, possibly due to it being closer to their natural aiming speed in the first place before they retrained onto a new sensitivity. Grips, however, are a bit more interchangeable, but we still have our own individual way of doing things. As humans, we're normally quite good at finding out our own best way to do something. Grips can be limiting in some circumstances, such as with hand size and the mouse being used, which can limit your ability. Some grips do offer benefits over others too. You should only really change grip if you feel absolutely limited that you can't do something, such as vertical movement. Experiment with that motion on a different grip to see if it feels easier and if other movements are bearable and can be trained up to match the previous one. I myself was a claw user, but the limiting factor for me was actually my movement speed. Moving my arm around all the time felt quite cumbersome, so this adapted into a fingertip claw blending that I use my fingers now for a lot of the short movements, wrist for mid-range and arm for long range. This allows me to quickly move my mouse up, down, left, right, as I just make my fingers go to that place on the mouse map. The downside, however, is that the muscles in the fingers are small and therefore less stable, so extra pressure from just one finger can misalign your shot. It takes extreme mastery to get good with some of the grips, and I'm still working on this one daily. A common grip like palm, however, has the whole control of the hand. Again, it's best to stick to what feels best for you, so only experiment if you have issues with your current grip, or just to test to see if you can perform better motions in some different scenarios. For aim training, you need to have a good balance between less is more, but also doing enough to make the training beneficial. This requires a decent warm-up in your chosen tasks and then a push for improvement or consistency if you've just recently started to hit some faster shots. At first I used to do 30 runs of one task a day, which was Gridshot as featured in the channel. Now I use a playlist of 5 tasks that I play through 5 times. The tasks complement each other in slight ways, so playing on all of them warms me up for each other. So as a rough time measurement, I will be spending at least 25 minutes and possibly up to 40 minutes doing solid training, and this is still leading to improvements in my chosen tasks. I find it best if you play daily and don't take gaps in your training. Consistency really does enforce these gains. In terms of routine, a lot of players advise to play after your FPS before you go bed. Some use it as a warm-up. I don't know too much about what's actually the best time to train, but I tend to do mine after I finish work every day at 5 PM, then play my FPS games. In summary, I am a big advocate of aim training. I think becoming an aim god takes more than just the mechanics of an individual FPS itself, and so I believe in being able to do a variety of actions or motions which can complement certain scenarios. Of course, I still agree though that playing the game itself is what's going to get you better at it, because the game features 100% of the mechanics it needs for you to practice on, where the aim trainers are much smaller in comparison. However, it does allow you to train out mistakes that you've picked up on, or allow you to train with targets immediately in front of you, instead of having to go into a match for this. Anyhow, I hope I've covered some of the main topics there, and I know there are so many more questions, but this is a big topic and it can't be covered in one video. If there is anything specific you guys would like me to break down, albeit I only have approximately 550 hours in aim training, then drop me a comment below and I'll be sure to read it and get back to you. As always, thanks for watching and catch you guys in the next one. Sorry, it feels bad to kinda jam this in at the end, but there are so many layers on this video so it's hard to squeeze it in before, and this was already made up. So in the latest development, I was in discussion with a person I met on AimLab Reddit, and he decided to make a video on myself, breaking apart some comments we discussed and how I like to play. He's featured other players too, like Shroud, so if you're interested in particular player analysis, then definitely go check out his channel. It was such an honour and definitely surprised to have someone do this for me.
Definitely use wrist motion, but this is not for the majority of his flicks. This is just for micro adjustments and smaller ranged flicks. Also, I want to talk about his aim training. Aim training is a great way to improve, and this Immortal is a huge advocate of aim training.